Metal Nibbling Operator. Not gonna lie, it does have a kind of catchy ring to it,
That
right?
does.
I don't know about you, but I kind of picture like someone going full Thor on a sheet of metal.
Yeah.
But trust me, this deep dive, we're going to uncover some surprises. It's a lot more about precision, even artistry, and yeah, okay, maybe a little tech wizardry sprinkled in.
Definitely.
So, are you ready?
Let's do it.
Let's get our hands dirty with some knowledge about metal nibbling
I
operators.
think what gets me about this whole trade is, like, you see that old school craftsmanship, right?
Right?
But then you realize, whoa, they're using some seriously cutting-edge tools to get it done.
Oh, absolutely.
Think about those intricate designs you see on metal surfaces, like the really detailed stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of that starts with a metal nibbling operator,
Yeah.
using specialized drills, sometimes even computer-guided machinery, to get that level of detail.
So we're talking less Hulk smash and more like surgeon with a steady hand kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Precision is key.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm starting to get the picture here. And the guides we've got from RoleCatcher.com, they really emphasize that need for a sharp eye, you know?
Oh, yeah.
It's not just blindly cutting along lines. These operators are working from blueprints, understanding the designs.
It's like this.
Yeah.
It's like the difference between, doing a quick sketch and creating a full-on technical illustration.
Oh, I see.
But your canvas, it's metal.
Woo. That's a good way to put it.
And a huge part of the job is understanding the why behind each cut.
Yeah.
Like, what's the purpose of this design? How are these different metals going to react to my tools?
Oh, interesting.
It's a lot more cerebral than people realize,
Right.
And now you've got CAD software becoming more and more common. So these operators, they're blending that digital design with like real hands-on skill.
So it's traditional craftsmanship meets high tech. That's a cool combo.
Why?
What I'm finding fascinating is it's not just knowing how W to operate the equipment, but WHY you're making certain cuts.
Right.
That seems crucial.
Totally.
So if we're talking about like the biggest challenges in this line of work, what would you say are at the top of the list?
Well, one thing that the RoleCatcher guides really emphasize is just how repetitive some of the tasks can be.
Okay. Yeah.
And obviously it depends on the specific job. But there's definitely potential for physical strain.
Right, right.
Imagine like maintaining that level of precision for hours on end every day.
Yeah.
That takes a toll. And then you've got the work environment itself. It can be pretty loud. And depending on what they're working with, there's potential exposure to metal dust, things like that.
Okay, so important factors to weigh if someone's, daydreaming about a career in metal nibbling. It's not all like sleek tech and laser beams, huh?
Right.
But it seems like once you're in, there's some serious room to grow.
Oh, for sure.
Where does a metal nibbling operator go from those entry-level positions? What's the trajectory look like?
Well, RoleCatcher does a really good job at breaking down that career progression, actually.
Cool.
So you can move up into supervisory roles, which obviously means you're managing teams, projects, that kind of thing. Or you can specialize in certain types of metalworking, like maybe you become the go-to person for welding, or you become a master fabricator. There are a lot of different paths you can take.
So it's a field where you can really become an expert, hone your craft over time. I like that.
Absolutely.
But let's be real, before someone can even think about becoming an expert, they've got to land that first job, right?
Right.
And RoleCatcher seems to have this whole system for, like, acing those interviews.
They totally do. It's actually surprisingly in-depth. They've got all this tailored advice, specifically for people who want to be metal nibbling operators.
Oh, cool.
So they offer these sample questions, like, how do you ensure accuracy in your cuts? Or tell me about a time that you had to troubleshoot a complex problem with a nibbling machine.
Oh, wow.
Like, they're serious because those aren't your typical interview questions.
No, not at all. It's not just tell me about your strengths and weaknesses. It's the real deal.
Exactly. They make you think.
And that's smart because it forces you to demonstrate your knowledge in a practical way. You can't just list off some skills from your resume. They want to know you can handle real-world scenarios.
Badly.
Okay, speaking of resumes, RoleCatcher has this plugin. It's called RoleCatcher.capture. And this thing seems crazy helpful. Tell me it does my taxes too.
Uh-huh. I wish. I haven't found that miracle tax solution yet.
Darn.
But it does make the whole job search process way smoother.
Oh, okay.
You can save jobs from all these different websites, so you're not constantly juggling a million tabs. It's all about, working smarter, not harder.
Right, right. I can get behind that. I mean, anything that makes the job hunt less painful, I'm here for it. But I think the most important thing we've learned is that a metal nibbling operator isn't just cutting metal, they're shaping possibilities.
Yeah.
Like, it's this blend of artistry, precision, and problem solving that I don't think a lot of people realize goes into it.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
Oh.
And that's really just scratching the surface. We haven't even gotten into the different specializations within this field
Oh, right.
where those skills are really put to the test in some very unique ways.
Shaping possibilities. I like that. It's true, though, you see like a really beautifully crafted piece of metal work.
Right.
You don't always think about like the skill, the artistry that goes into it, you know?
Definitely not.
But, okay, you mentioned specializations within metal nibbling. What are we talking about here? What can you become?
So it's interesting because some operators, they'll become specialists in working with a specific type of metal,
Okay.
which makes sense when you think about it because like aluminum, that's way different than working with steel.
Right.
Aluminum's lighter, it's more malleable.
Yeah.
Steel, that's the tough stuff.
You sure?
So each material, it kind of demands a different technique. You might use different tools. Even just like the feel of it is totally different.
It's like you're becoming fluent in like metal dialects or something.
Yes, exactly.
You're not just a metal nibbling operator. You're like an aluminum whisperer or what would it be? A steel savant.
Love it.
Okay, so that's materials.
And then you have people who specialize in like the actual nibbling techniques.
Okay.
So some, they become masters of that handheld nibbler,
Right.
which is like the way to go for those crazy intricate cuts.
Yeah.
Others, they gravitate towards the computer-controlled stuff, which makes sense because if you're doing larger scale projects, that's where it's at.
Right, efficiency.
Exactly.
So it's like detail-oriented artisan on one hand and then tech-savvy large-scale operator on the other.
I like that. Yeah.
But what's cool is that both require that same like deep understanding of the materials, the design. It's fascinating.
Totally.
But with all this talk about skills, I'm curious, what's the personality type?
Oh, interesting.
Like, what kind of person thrives as a metal nibbling operator?
So RoleCatcher actually talks about this, and it's spot on, I think. Obviously, you need that technical know-how, right?
Right.
But beyond that, you need someone who is meticulous, detail-oriented, patient.
Patient, really. I feel like those intricate cuts would require some serious, like, nerves of steel. Haha.
Right. Pun intended.
Maybe. Yeah.
But seriously, you got to be able to maintain focus, not get flustered if a cut needs that extra, finesse.
Yeah, totally.
And then on top of that, a little creative spark never hurts.
Oh, how so?
Because you will run into unexpected challenges, guaranteed. And that's where that creativity comes in.
So you got to think on your feet, improvise.
Exactly. Channel your inner MacGyver to troubleshoot a tricky cut, or maybe a machine's acting up. Who knows?
Sounds like there's never a dull moment.
Definitely not.
But let's be real. Before someone can even think about those challenges,
right,
they've got to get the job. And is this even like a field with job openings? What's the market look like?
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting. And it's something RoleCatcher is like really emphasizing in their guides.
Okay.
There is a growing need for skilled tradespeople.
Yeah, that's what I've been hearing.
Including metal nibbling operators.
Okay.
And it makes sense, right? Because you have these more experienced workers, they're retiring.
Right, that whole skills gap thing.
Exactly. And that puts people who are entering the field now in a really good position.
Interesting.
Like if you've got the skills and you're willing to learn,
yeah,
the opportunities are there. It's a candidate's market, which is huge.
Wow. So not only is it a field where you can really like perfect your craft, become an expert, but it sounds like there's some real job security there.
There is, which is huge.
Okay, that's a pretty compelling combo, if you ask me.
For sure.
But, we gotta address the elephant in the room when it comes to any kind of like manufacturing job.
Right.
Safety.
Of course.
It can be a demanding environment.
Absolutely.
So what are some things a metal nibbling operator like really needs to be on top of?
RoleCatcher's really clear about this. Safety is non-negotiable.
Right.
Personal protective equipment, that's a must.
Yeah.
Gloves, safety glasses, hearing protection, all of it. No exceptions.
I can only imagine those machines can get loud. And I'm assuming flying metal shards are not good for the complexion.
No, they are not.
So, okay, that makes sense.
And it goes beyond just personal safety, too.
Oh, okay.
You got to be vigilant about the equipment.
Yeah.
Regular maintenance, inspections. If something seems off, you report it. It's all about creating that culture of safety.
Ounce of prevention's worth a pound of cure. Right.
Exactly.
Okay, so even with all that, these machines, they're powerful.
Oh, yeah.
What's the training like for someone who wants to get into this?
So RoleCatcher really recommends seeking out apprenticeships or those entry-level positions
Okay.
because it's all about getting that hands-on experience, learning from people who've been doing it for years.
Right.
You're not going to master this overnight.
Right.
It takes time, dedication, being willing to start from the bottom, basically.
So similar to other trades, it seems like that combo of like formal training and then on-the-job experience.
That's the magic formula, pretty much.
Gotcha.
And honestly, it's a commitment to lifelong learning.
Oh, how so?
Because technology changes, new materials pop up, you got to stay ahead of the curve.
Sharpen the saw, as they say.
Exactly.
Okay, so speaking of sharpening skills, what about certifications?
Okay.
Is that a thing? Like, does a metal nibbling operator need a bunch of fancy certificates?
So it's not always required, but it definitely gives you a leg up,
Okay,
especially in a job market like this where, it's competitive.
makes sense.
RoleCatcher actually has a whole section on their site all about the different types of certifications you can get.
Oh, wow.
Some are more about safety protocols, which is like the baseline.
Yeah.
Others are about really specific welding techniques, stuff like that.
But it's not just saying, hey, I can work this machine.
Right.
It's about having the credentials to back it up.
100%. Because it shows employers that you're serious,
Yeah.
you've invested in your skills, you're committed to maintaining industry standards, all of that.
And in a field where precision, expertise, those are so important,
Absolutely.
I can see how those certifications would be huge.
They are.
But, okay, even with all the skills in the world,
Right.
there's that one part of the job hunt that still makes people sweat,
Oh, yeah, the interview.
the dreaded interview.
Uh-huh. The worst, right?
But the good news is,
Yes.
RoleCatcher, they don't leave you hanging.
Nope.
They have a whole bunch of resources specifically for acing those metal nibbling operator interviews.
It's true. They really do.
It's like they've got a cheat sheet for interview success or something.
Not too much. It's awesome.
Okay, so spill the secrets. What's in this treasure trove of theirs?
Okay, so first of all, they have this database of potential interview questions.
Okay.
And these aren't like the generic ones you see everywhere.
Right, right.
We're talking laser-focused questions
Mm-hmm.
that really get at, like, do you know your stuff when it comes to metal nibbling?
Oh, wow.
So we're talking techniques, safety protocols, troubleshooting, the whole 9 yards.
So it's like you're walking into that interview having already done a few practice rounds.
Exactly.
No more getting blindsided by those curveball questions.
Right. And get this.
Okay.
They even have an AI-powered tool that analyzes your responses.
Whoa, for real.
Yeah. And it gives you feedback.
Okay, hold on. That's like next level.
Right.
So it's like having a little interview coach in your pocket.
Totally.
Okay, but is it brutally honest? Like, is it gonna tell me if I sound totally boring?
Haha. Thankfully, it's a little more constructive than that.
Okay, good to know. Good to know.
It'll look at things like, how clear are your answers? Are you actually answering the question?
Right.
Even, are you using the right industry lingo?
Oh, smart.
It's all about fine-tuning your delivery, making you sound like the expert you are.
I love it. It's like a secret weapon for confidence. But it's not all about, sounding like an expert, right? You got to back it up.
100%. RoleCatcher actually emphasizes this a lot, the importance of soft skills.
Oh, yeah. That's huge. In any field, really.
Especially here, because, remember, you're not just working with a machine, you're part of a team.
That's right. You got to be able to collaborate, problem solve, all that good stuff.
Exactly.
So how do they suggest, like, showcasing those softer skills in the interview, I mean?
So be ready to talk about teamwork, how you communicate, your problem-solving style, stuff like that.
Got it.
Basically, you want to show them you're not just technically skilled, but also someone people actually want to work with.
Right, that you're a team player.
Yeah, someone who can communicate clearly, stay positive, even when things get tough.
Yeah, that goes a long way.
And honestly, enthusiasm is contagious.
Oh, for sure.
Like, if you're genuinely jazzed about metal nibbling, let it show.
Right. Passion is a good look.
Employers can tell when someone's just there for the paycheck versus someone who actually enjoys the work.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah, let that passion shine through.
Great advice. It's about, like, that human connection.
Yeah.
Showing them you're not just another cog in the machine.
Right.
You bring something unique to the team.
And speaking of bringing things to the table,
Okay.
one thing we haven't even talked about is the earning potential in this field.
Oh, right, right.
Because a lot of people might be surprised to hear these skilled trades, they often come with really good salaries.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's not always about, like, the fancy corner office job,
Exactly. There's a lot to be said for a solid career, doing something you enjoy that also pays well.
Couldn't agree more.
Mhm.
So what are we talking numbers-wise? What can a metal nibbling operator realistically expect to earn?
So, like with any job, it depends on experience, where you're located, the specific industry, all that.
Sure, sure.
But RoleCatcher actually cites data showing the median salary can be very competitive,
Okay.
like even higher than national averages in some cases.
Oh, wow. That's impressive. And this is a career where you don't necessarily need a 4-year degree for, right?
Exactly.
That's a good chunk of change.
It is. And on top of that, there's room to grow.
Okay, how so?
As you get more experience, you can specialize in something that's in super high demand,
Gotcha.
or even move into like a management role. You can bump those earnings up even more.
So there's multiple paths for advancement, both in terms of skills and salary. I like it.
Absolutely.
It's funny because this is a profession that, honestly, I think a lot of people probably don't even know exists,
Yeah,
but it can be a really smart, strategic career choice.
it really can. It reminds us that there are so many different ways to build a fulfilling career.
That's a good point. It's not always the traditional route that's the best fit.
Totally.
Yeah.
And, having resources like RoleCatcher out there, that can make a big difference.
Oh, for sure. They're definitely doing some good work helping people navigate all this stuff.
Yeah, I'm impressed.
Okay, so as we start to wrap up our deep dive into the surprisingly intricate world of metal nibbling operators,
Haha, right.
what's the one big takeaway you hope our listeners are walking away with today?
Honestly, this is a field that's bursting with opportunity right now.
Yeah.
If you're someone who's looking for a career that's creative, technical, and you like a good challenge,
Mm-hmm.
metal nibbling might just be the perfect fit.
I love that. It's about shaping metal, but also shaping your own future.
Exactly. And you might find that it's way more artistic than you ever expected.
Well said. Well said. And with that, we'll wrap up our deep dive into the world of metal nibbling operators. Thanks for joining us.